We appreciate you joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And we're here in the studio that they provide for us, which is second to none. And honestly, a guy that is second to none for the job that he did with the Cincinnati Bengals, Christian Sarkisian, a big factor in the personnel department that put together playoff teams for the Cincinnati Bengals, helped put together a roster that went to the Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals. Christian Sarkisian has moved on to Northwestern as their general manager up there, in charge of NIL, making sure the coaches are all happy and employed gainfully, obviously. He's got a huge responsibility, 7 sports on his plate up there, make sure that everything is in working order and competing at a very high level, taking care of the coaches, taking care of the players, taking care of potential recruits, helping in the solicitation of that. NIL money. There are so many things in today's college football environment to keep track of. An area, of course, that Christian Sarkisian was very involved with was the draft, the NFL draft, the lifeblood of any NFL team. Paul Brown felt it was key. You got to get the draft right. And the Cincinnati Bengals had 6 picks this year. Christian Sarkisian was heavily involved in a lot of them, none more than Shamar Stewart. He was all over that from Shamar Stewart's senior year in high school. Not only the NFL draft, college free agency, unrestricted free agency. He's recently departed for Northwestern, so he was involved in all of that. And the Cincinnati Bengals, they have some new personnel to fill out that roster, man. I mean, roster building is the lifeblood of the National Football League. We appreciate you joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And as always, we're in our studios that are outstanding. I mean, kind of one of one. Nobody, I don't think anybody else can claim they've got everything that this studio provides us for podcasting and other things that we do. We also have a guest that's outstanding, and he is one of one, and that is Christian Sarkisian, who the Cincinnati Bengals, it's probably a case where they're very proud of the fact that Christian Sarkisian was the one that was selected for such a prominent position, that being a business manager at Northwestern in charge of NIL and everything else that is part of college sports these days. I mean, college football is big money business. There's no question about it. And all the experience and success that Christian Sarkisian has had with the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm sure, is a big reason that he now has joined Northwestern. So it's a deal where I'm sure the Bengals are sad to see him go, but proud of the fact that he is advancing his career and in such a prominent position. But they also are very appreciative of what he did when he was here in Cincinnati, because the Cincinnati Bengals had some great success. Christian Sarkisian is a big piece of it, putting together a roster building, a big deal in the National Football League. There's so many ways to do it: by draft, by unrestricted free agency, by college free agency. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and Christian Sarkisian was part of a personnel department that did it so well for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'd like to welcome him in right now, the man that we're speaking of. He's very talented, Christian Sarkisian. And good afternoon, sir. How you be?
I'm great, Lap. I'm great, man. It's awesome to be back. It's awesome to be talking to you once again.
So as we speak, you are in your offices, and probably not your permanent office, maybe a temporary office as such, but you're at Northwestern, grinding away, aren't you? I mean, you're already working at that position. When did you start up there at Northwestern?
Yeah, so my official start date was May 20th, but before that, I had come in a couple times just for official visits to really be around and to get to know this class of guys, being the 2026 class. Fired up about it. That first round of official visits, it was really good to us. We actually got a couple guys from the Cincinnati area, one from St. X, one from Loveland, to commit that weekend, which was pretty exciting for them, their families, and for us here at Northwestern. We think highly of those guys. Then other than that, really adjusting and meeting all these other coaches as well outside of the football program. We're going through a few decision-making processes on our end here at Northwestern in terms of, the different software companies, the different database companies, stuff like that we're deciding on the football side. And then regarding the rev share and the NIL stuff, we're meeting with those different coaches to develop, our contract structure for those different sports. So a lot of initial contract structure stuff, a lot of just getting the right pieces in place on the football side, going through a few different hiring things right now in terms of just filling out the personnel staff on the football side. And then also meeting with some players and agents, exciting stuff. We got a few guys here that we think highly of internally, and just making sure that those guys are getting their right opportunities. I'm pretty excited that two of our offensive linemen will be heading down to Frisco for Duke Manyweather and Lane Johnson's offensive O-line masterminds program, which, Lap, I'm sure you have some familiarity with that. But yeah, just trying to get them on the right track.
I'll tell you, it's you've got a bunch of responsibilities. I mean, I didn't realize that your position entailed all that you just mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of it on the football side, which I totally get and understand. Why wouldn't Northwestern tap into the resources that you provide for them in terms of what you've done, how you've done it, the successes that you've had? I mean, it's almost like, it seems to me, in listening to you describe what you're doing, it's like you're assistant athletic director / business manager / maybe.
Yeah, we're calling it general manager, right? So
okay.
Yeah, so it's a little bit unique here in how we're structuring it in terms of me being the general manager over all of the programs that fall under the rev share settlement, and those are seven different teams. My pride and my expertise is in football. And that's where my passion really still lies, but it's a lot of exciting challenges to keep growing and learning how to work with these different coaches. I was out on a field hockey practice the other day, and I almost had, I had to keep my head on a swivel. I'm not used to those field hockey balls ripping around the field. I almost lost an ankle. So, stuff like that. And it's an exciting time here. The girls golf team, they just won the national championship. Girls lacrosse program, they just were in the championship game for the third year in a row. And some of the coaches here outside of the football program are really impressive. Kelly Monte Hiller had a connection with where NFL guys were coming, NFL head coaches like Belichick, they were coming when they were coaching to come meet with her and kind of pick her brain about some of her leadership. I mean, she's won like 13 national championships.
Wow.
And then also on our football staff, we have a lot of young emerging coaches, which are exciting to be around. I think it's something like 49 total national championship appearances across our staff.
Wow.
From the FCS level on up. So it's exciting stuff to kind of be a part of. And for me, and kind of where I'm hoping to grow and my own career path, I'm learning from a lot of great coaches and a lot of great leaders here. So that gets me fired up. And again, it's something where I learned how to be a sponge in Cincinnati, and learning from Coach Lewis's staff when I first got there, and through the transition to Zach and his staff. And then also just the stability in the front office. I mean, learning from the front office in Cincinnati is really what equipped me. And for a role like this that I'm currently in, and I'm lucky because my experiences in Cincinnati were so unique. to the NFL environment, just in terms of the way that it's structured in Cincinnati, where I feel like I'm used to having to put on multiple hats and be able to communicate, whether it be with ownership at the end of the hall or the coaches downstairs, all the way down to the equipment guys, to the athletic trainers, all that sort of stuff. One thing that we did at Cincinnati here in Northwestern recently is we've added a couple strength coach positions, and going through that process I'm really lucky to have seen what I saw in Cincinnati to be able to apply some of that here in those decision-making situations and those opportunities. I mean, I remember when we hired Joey Bose and filled out his staff, and that's just really a critical experience to draw from.
Yeah, I mean, as general manager, that's a big title, and you started listing some of the responsibilities under that title. That's you're going to be. You already are a busy man. Sounds like. And
yeah, but it's better to be busy than other.
I hear that. It with 7 programs that you're dealing with. How often do you sit down individually and collectively with those respective coaches, to get feedback that you might be able to cross-pollinate, from one sport at Northwestern to the other? How often do you sit down with one or all of them?
So with all of them in a setting yet, we've yet to do that.
Okay.
That's something where this summer we'll really dive into, just at the end of the spring season coming up here. Those coaches right now are getting their well-deserved time away from the building for a little bit. So once we get into the summer a little bit more, but no, with the football staff, it's multiple times a day meeting with those guys. With the basketball staff, I met with them earlier on Monday, actually on Tuesday, spent a few hours with them. And so really just piecing it all together right now. I've made sure to meet all of our other coaches previously. But no, looking forward to getting together as a group and really kind of having that sort of town hall sort of meeting.
A big thing that you're going to be a huge part of, you're going to be the face of, basically, is recruiting. Just about at every level. From a university standpoint, you're going to be basically retaining, hopefully, coaches that you want to retain. But then if there are openings, recruiting the best talent available for that with the NIL and the recruitment process of the athletes. I mean, you're going to be involved in that as well. There's going to be a lot of recruiting going on at a lot of levels within the 7 sports that you're overseeing. I mean, that's right up your alley, though. I mean, that's really, like, for me, that's I enjoy the people side of this industry, and for me, in my family's history at Northwestern, I could talk till I'm blue in the face about this place and talk about how the impact that it had on 3 generations of my family, going back to giving an Armenian immigrant an opportunity, and him ending up being the captain of that Rose Bowl team, and kind of how that set my family on a path where truly myself, my sibling, my cousins, we're all able to kind of pursue our dream careers, and it all kind of ties back to the foundation that we had growing up, learning from people who went to Northwestern, and then myself and 2 other of my cousins, we have degrees from here, and that's kind of the standard in my family, is you get a degree from Northwestern and you set yourself up for some good success there. And for me, I mean, it resulted in early on being able to work and kind of build a reputation for myself at Cincinnati, and just from there continue to follow those opportunities. But in my heart of hearts, this was the only place that I'd leave Cincinnati for, that I'd leave the Bengals organization for, in this role and these responsibilities, and the opportunity to pursue a second degree from Northwestern. For me, it's do I believe that my NFL journey is over with? No, but it's just great
it's a great opportunity for me to come back to a place I really care about and help them find success, the same success that they have with some programs, help that reach all 7 of those programs that I'm sitting over, and then also in turn, just sharpen my sword to really prove myself as a decision maker for when it comes time, for my next move, sort of thing.
I didn't realize all your family ties to Northwestern. I mean, that's extraordinary. I mean, you're going back generations, and highly educated family. I mean, Northwestern, it's it's equivalent to Ivy League education. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be recruited by Northwestern, and I came within a whisker to Northwestern, and Northwestern's got a heck of a communication school. And Syracuse had one as well, and I decided to end up going to the Newhouse School. But I mean, Northwestern's.
You had 2 great options, man.
No doubt.
To get into what you're doing now. I mean, there's not 2 better places.
Absolutely, and the combination of academics and athletics, and you're a great example of it. And other members of your family are. How proud is your family of you with the generational ties to Northwestern? Here you are back in a newly formed position, general manager. You're the first. The Sarkisian family is the very first. Sarkisian family member is the very first general manager at Northwestern. That has to be a source of pride for your family.
It's a big source of pride, but they don't let my head get too big about any of that stuff. My dad's advice to me really on any opportunity is just don't F it up. So that's it's I like hearing that though, because it's a shot of belief, and it's also, hey, you're in this position because you got to this position, so now just don't screw it up, and you'll be okay.
I know you've been there since the 20th, and I know you had some interviews and all that sort of thing with Northwestern. Have you hit the ground running? I mean, are you because it sounds like
that's the way I'm wired.
Oh man,
it's if I'm not doing something, then I have anxiety because I know that there's plenty for me to be doing. So hit the ground running, and that again, it's I learned so much and really got to hone my work ethic in Cincinnati and learning from those guys. I mean, learning from Mr. Brown and just the way that you operate every day, the consistency you have to have as a leader, and you want to make sure that whenever the team is together, you're there as a leader. So those are just some of those lessons that I learned from Mr. Brown to Katie and Troy to Duke to Zach, that what they've built there in terms of locker room culture, the interconnectedness of it all. It's really, it gave me a lot to learn from, and kind of, in my journal, it's one of those things where I remind myself of some of those lessons on a morning basis. Just because how could I not, from learning from those people.
With that journal, I think everybody that is in sports, and particularly in the area of sports, the part of sports that you're in, would love to study your journal, man. That's got a lot of good.
That's something I learned from Coach Taylor. You won't ever see Coach Taylor without his journal, and it's something that he refers to often, and he's got a whole catalog of them, and that again, learning from a leader like him in terms of all the things that you have to keep juggling in the air. It's hard to not do it without a pen and paper next to you at all times. So that's kind of my approach.
So what about scheduling? Is that an aspect? Is that a responsibility that is solely yours? Are you the head of a committee that works on that from a department standpoint at Northwestern? And how challenging is that to maybe, okay, hey, we've got some opponents that I'm comfortable with, because to get to where we want to be, national champions, scheduling can be a big factor, particularly non-league. How do you juggle all that part of it, and how big a responsibility is the scheduling aspect?
Yeah, the scheduling aspect, obviously that stuff's all built out in advance. So we'll have meetings with that in mind. And I've yet to be part of that meeting for the upcoming, I believe it would be the 28th season. But yeah, that's all stuff that that I'm chomping at the bit to get involved in. And, one really cool thing that we have going on here at Northwestern is being part of the Big Ten. Obviously, it's now an 18-team league. You're going to have years where the schedule looks completely different than what you're accustomed looking at in a Big Ten schedule. So, there's that we have to navigate through. Obviously, the non-conference schedule. We start this year going down to Tulane, which I got a lot of respect for Coach Summerall, just going through there for the last 7 years, getting to know that staff there from the time where we took Cam Sample to all the way up to now. Been really impressed by those guys. I know it's going to be a dogfight, and I know that you're going to face a great defense there with Coach Summerall. But one thing that we're really excited for here is in 2026, the fall of 26, our new stadium opens. It's a $900 million stadium, basically $1 billion, all privately funded, so we can really do what we want to do with it. Really excited about that. We'll have one more year here at the temporary Lakeside facility or Lakeside stadium, which is cool. It's probably one of the more unique atmospheres in college football right now. You're playing less than 50 yards away from the beach and from crashing waves into the rocks that go right by there. It's pretty cool. But no, that next year, 2026, we'll be really fired up to get moved into our permanent stadium and really be cooking with gas from there on out.
Man, almost $1 billion stadium, 900+ million, and like you said, privately funded.
Yep.
Northwestern has a bunch of successful alums, like we talked about. It's Ivy League basically in terms of education, and the network of alums has to be unbelievable.
Correct.
On a national, international basis. How much of a responsibility or role is it as you're carving out responsibilities to say, okay, I want to have FaceTime with some of these big donors? I want to make sure that, the athletic department, the football program, basketball, all the programs are front and center, and we get our share. How big is the fundraising aspect of your role?
Yeah, it'll be a critical part of my role as well. So really looking forward to get going on that. I know some of these families well, and I'm excited to meet some of them and grow those connections even more. Really, the first family that comes to mind is a Pat Ryan family, or the Ryan family and Pat Ryan. They've been extremely loyal to this place for a long time. And between the $900 million stadium that's getting built, between this nearly $300 million facility that I'm in right now, the impacts that family's had solely on this place is really special.
Man, the new stadium, the ripple effect of that new stadium, the economic ripple effect at the university and elsewhere. I mean, in the community. I mean, it's like you have $1 billion edifice there, and obviously you're gonna play all your intercollegiate sports there. But I mean, concerts, other events at that stadium. It's an economic boom for that community. And I'll tell you, I mean, I remember playing at Northwestern, and on the lake, on the water, man, it's an unbelievably beautiful view. I mean, you don't really think about it when you're playing, but when you walk into that place and you walk around it and you take a look at the landscape and the beautifulness of what goes on around that stadium, and I'm sure the tailgaters, everybody is going to be pumped up about it. That stadium is going to be wow. From an economic standpoint, that's going to be a big boom, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a huge boom. It's really exciting. That area is really special to me. I mean, I grew up riding my bike to that stadium. Grew up working at the beach that's, less than 100 yards away from, maybe more than that, maybe like 300 yards away from that stadium.
Yeah.
But no, so I can speak really detailed on it. But to be brief, the things that are really exciting are there's a train stop on the L train that runs through Chicago that stops less than 2 blocks away from there. You're going to have concerts. You're obviously going to have all the Big Ten games that are going to be there. It'll be a really cool, injection of entertainment that for that area. And our neighbors in that area are great neighbors. You have the Ricketts family who owns the Chicago Cubs. They live across the street pretty much from the stadium. And then as you work your way down that street, you have Matt Ishbia, who's the owner of the Phoenix Suns. He lives, within 1.5 miles of the stadium, right down that same road. So it's a cool area with a great network of people around it who have experienced a lot of success in athletics. And that's, the people that I want to continue to learn from. I felt like I learned from one of the first families in football in the Brown family, and from Duke and his dad, what I was able to learn from them. I mean, I learned from some of the best families in football, and I'm excited to compile that with the network here and learning from the people that are local here and that are in our Northwestern network as well.
A stadium like that, 900 plus, almost $1 billion stadium. What a shot in the arm to recruiting. Are you kidding me? I mean, if I'm going to Northwestern now instead of back in the 70s, 1970 exactly, and take a look at that stadium, and like I talked about the view and the lake and all. I mean, are you kidding me? All of a sudden, Northwestern becomes – it's a great school. The academics are second to none. You're going to come out with a degree that will get you a job with anybody in the world, and you're going to be playing at that stadium for 4
years. You're
Wow.
going to be playing at that stadium. You're going to be playing in the Big Ten with the best exposure in the country, and we're paying guys. We are paying guys now. The doors are open, and we're ready for that, and it's really exciting stuff. Again, like for me, going back to this dinner that I had last night with an agent that helped get two Northwestern guys into a program like O-Line Mastermind. It's just one of those things where it's really exciting. You can feel that ripple effect. And now it's our job to make sure we're putting those guys in the best positions for them to succeed and for them to just continue to capitalize on the tape that they've put out there and what's coming this season. And let's get them in a position where they're getting drafted. And, when it comes time for Mike Potts to come through, and I can't wait to be able to brag about a few guys that we have here to those guys and hopefully give them a little inside leg up.
I love it.
Yeah.
You talk about we talk about the recruitment, and that's kind of the lifeblood of sports, college sports in particular. I mean, recruiting coaches, recruiting players.
Yeah.
This stadium is going to be a big asset for you in terms of recruiting players. But will you actually, I'm not saying you'll, or maybe you will make visits to players' homes. But when players come to your university, I'm sure that you're going to be on the roll call of people that they're going to sit down with and meet. Here's the general manager of our athletics department, young man, and maybe you can aspire to be in his position someday.
Yeah, there's that piece, and then there's also just a huge portion of this is the negotiation. So with all these guys that come in, I'm having those conversations with a lot of their families. Some families prefer to have that conversation where it's just mom, dad, and you, and the player isn't involved. Some families already have representation, so you're dealing with that representation, figuring out kind of the negotiation on the deal at that level. So yeah, when guys come through, I'm involved with them. And then when we get going and we're on the road, there's some stuff where I want to be really targeted about it. And I liked being on the road. I didn't have many issues with it. So I'm sure when I get that itch, I'll get out on the road and scratch it.
I'll tell you, if I'm a young athlete and Christian Sarkisian comes to my home and sits down across from me and he says, very recently, I was in the personnel department in the National Football League with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I know a lot of people in the league, and I know a lot of coaches in the league, and I know what the talent level is like in the league. And young man, you have that type of talent level. I mean, I would think that the credibility of you sitting down across from a young high school senior with his parents is going to be, man, this is pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, and absolutely that the recruiting portion, 100%, that's a focus of mine. But going off that and kind of what you're saying is once guys are wearing our jersey, I'm going to be sitting down with them, having one-on-one meetings, really focusing on their football development. We have a ton of great support here for off the field development and that sort of stuff. I'm really excited to make my impact in the football development side, to be an asset to our coaching staff, to have the time to have the one-on-one meetings with players, to really walk through their tape through the eyes of an NFL scout and kind of formulate a plan of attack on how we're going to get better in these certain areas and marry that up with everything that they're hearing in the position room from the coaches as well.
Coach, Coach, you sound like and act like a coach to me, Coach Sarkisian.
There we go.
You could have been a coach. In fact, did you ever think about coaching? I mean, you've got a knowledge of the game that's extraordinary. Played the game, you have a knowledge for the game. Your ability to communicate, articulate the game is very strong. Did you ever think about
there were parts of that in me? My grandfather, when he was done playing, and he hung up his cleats, he actually came back to Northwestern to coach for a little bit. It's funny, I have his old playbook here from 1952, and the thought of coaching popped in my mind. But the things that I love about it are the roster construction. And to me, I do believe that it's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. So that's kind of where my passions always lied is in the roster construction and roster management aspect of it.
Perfect segue. Roster management, roster construction, and you were part of, as we talked about, a very successful group. You mentioned Mike Potts. You got a guy, the personnel department with the Cincinnati Bengals has been second to none. You were instrumental. You were involved in this year's draft. Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M. I know that's your region, your geography. First of all, I guess before we get into Shamar specifically, I know that the scouting department has different areas of the country that they're responsible for. What was your main area of responsibility from a geographic standpoint?
So if you look at it and you essentially say the central time zone, and then into New Mexico, and then into Louisiana outside of LSU, and then you went all the way north to the border, south to the border. It ended up being, some years it was like 18 states, some years it was like 16 states. But it was always right around there. So, just looking back at some guys, it was like, yeah, I was going through Illinois with Chase Brown, Tulane, Cam Sample, North Dakota State, Cordell, A&M for McKinley and for Shamar. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some just off the cuff. But yeah, it was really, really a great area, because you get a lot of the Big Ten, you get all the Big 12, you get some of the SEC, and so you get to see just football at really different levels. The scheme changes are so great from not only team to team, obviously, but conference to conference and the level that they're playing. So it was really great. And, there's a lot of guys that I'm really excited for on that roster that even in the college free agency world, like Eric Gregory is a player that I think it could have easily shook out a different way where he's getting drafted. It's just stuff like that. I'm really excited for those guys.
Let's hit on the draft, since we're talking about that part of it, roster development. And you mentioned a young man, as did I, Shamar Stewart. This guy, I mean, he is an athletic marvel, a genetic phenomenon. However you want to phrase it, he's different. The dude is unique, man.
Yep.
6'5" plus, 285, 290 pounds, ran a 4.59, 40-inch vertical jump, 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump. Are you kidding me?
34+ inch arm. Yep.
Really? So reach 34 or length, arm length 34 plus. That's amazing. So when did you first happened upon Shamar Stewart? Was it even in high school? Did you follow him throughout his entire career at A&M?
Well, in high school, he was an extremely highly touted recruit. And when a guy is coming from that South Florida area and a school in Texas is able to get him, you pay attention to a highly touted guy, even coming out as a high school kid, right?
Yep.
And then when I went through there for sure in 23, that was like that fall camp 2023 was the first time where I really locked in on Shamar. Just because when you're out there, you know, the reputation, and then you see the frame and the physicality that he practiced with and the effort and just some of the things that he was able to do out on the practice field. It was hard not to pay attention to him. And then additionally, specifically at Texas A&M, they recently, probably in the last 2 years or so, they had their longtime defensive line coach who also played at A&M. He passed away. His name was Terry Price. Coach TP, as he went by, was at A&M for probably the last 15 years or so. And he was extremely instrumental in all their defensive line recruiting, building that room. It was really his room. And you look at the defensive linemen that came out of there during that time. As a scout, when you go through different schools that have these longtime coaches that are highly regarded, that have that track record of, hey, they know what they're looking for. They're able to develop these guys, and then they're able to have that and a proven NFL success. When you go to a school like that has a position room like that, you pay a lot of attention to that whole position room, right? That was Texas A&M in their defensive line room. And so really 2023, during camp, started paying attention to, or, really locking in on Shamar, watched him all that 23 year, then this year for 24, because at A&M, it's a 2 visit and then the additional game. So you go through there 3 times in the fall, and then, you go through during pro day circuit again. There's a lot of familiarity there. Their offensive line coach at Texas A&M. I worked with him at Northwestern when I was previously here before getting hired by the Bengals, Coach Adam Cushing, and I respect Cush a lot. I mean, I saw him develop Rashawn Slater, Peter Skoronski while he was at Northwestern, the center from Duke, the tackle who now is playing center for Tampa Bay, who went to Duke. So talking to him, I was able to get a really good feel for kind of how these guys operate. And then also at A&M, they have great academic and development and kind of these sources that help players out. Talking to them that's something where, you even on a visit, you might have to get in at, call it 8 a.m. You're willing to stay around for longer to talk to, hey, can I take you out for a coffee? Can I do this? Can I do that with you? And then you just are able to have much longer form conversations. And that's the way I always like to be. There's some pieces of talent evaluation, especially the background evaluation. Some places will have kind of a checklist of questions that you have to ask. I don't believe in that. I believe in it has to be conversational. And it requires a little bit more time. You can't rush through it, but I think you're able to pick up a lot more in what people are saying and also in their nonverbal communication when you allow it to be conversational.
Shamar, I mean, the thing real quick, as when I looked at him, if I were to pick a word, disruption. I mean, that dude, you can't single block him. He's going to knock you back. Double team him, he's still going to knock you back. He is a disruptive force. I mean, he is going to penetrate disruption. His teammates are going to benefit from him. I think he's a hell of a pick. I think there's a lot of meat in the bone. I think the upside potential with him is extraordinary. Give us your take on. I'll go through the 6 draft picks on a name by name basis here, and give us your quick comment on these guys, if you would, sir. Demetrius Knight. The linebacker taken in the 2nd round, Demetrius Knight Jr.
Yep, I think I might have talked to you about linebackers before, and kind of the way I learned how to evaluate linebackers is you're looking for guys who have kind of the artistic mind a little bit in terms of being able to get from A to C without knowing where B is. I think Demetrius falls into that category greatly. He's long, he's athletic, he's got great football instincts, he's a natural football mind. And the other thing is he's extremely communicative. He's used to being the shot caller on the offensive side as a quarterback. You saw him grow into that role at South Carolina. And I'm hearing from practice is really how impressive he is as a communicator on the field.
Not surprising, having played that quarterback position like you mentioned. I mean, sees the game, man, understands the game. Dylan Fairchild, 3rd-round draft pick out of Georgia.
Yeah, big, strong, nasty, mean, smart, really good in pass pro. I remember, Lap, when you and I have spoken previously, it's one of those things where wait till you see this kid even just in the weight room, you'll be impressed. And you know, I have a question for you. How is that held up so far, or have you seen him yet in person?
I haven't seen him in person, but I've heard already how, like you mentioned, stout he is and flexible. Yeah. I mean, he bends at his knees, bends at his waist. I mean, he wins at the line of scrimmage. No knockback. He doesn't get knocked back. He's knocking people back, man.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. Well, how about in the 4th round, Barrett Carter?
Yeah, Barrett Carter, kind of again really similar to Demetrius in terms of the communicator, kind of face of that defense. You love the athlete. You see the versatility on against the run, against the pass, and on 4th down. So really excited for Carter and to see kind of what is in store for him and the rest of that linebacker room. I think when you're building out a linebacker room, you're looking for versatility and guys who can do multiple things well. And I think that he addresses that really, really strongly. And right now that linebacker room has got really a lot of versatility and guys who are great in multiple phases.
In the 5th round, Jalen Rivers. I mean, big, long, strong. This dude, man. Whew.
Yeah. Out. Yeah. He's kind of like Shamar in that a little bit, where there's a ton of upside still. There's a ton of upside for him. Really excited to hear kind of how he's been operating at a camp so far, just in terms of his professionalism and really getting into the playbook. So I think right there you got another. We like those big offensive. Cincinnati, likes those big offensive linemen, and he fits that mold. And it's all about protecting number 9, and Jalen is perfect for that.
No doubt. I mean, you get a couple of guys. The interior of the offensive line, the center and guards had some issues this year a little bit in terms of fortifying that, solidifying that pocket, and a couple of guys, Fairchild and Rivers, man, are going to compete big time in that area. What about that at the running back position, Taj Brooks?
Yeah, Taj Brooks is one that I love. Taj, I got to know Taj really well because he almost came out last year being the 2024 draft. He rushed for 1,500 yards in 23, rushed for 1,500 yards in 24, and I really enjoy going down to those Texas schools because the football character that's bred there is really impressive. That guys like that come to mind in terms of kind of the dog mentality guys that I really got to be around and help evaluate between, Fig Newton, McKinley Jackson, guys like Cam Taylor-Britt. Even I know he's not from Texas or played in Texas, but he plays DB like a Texas guy.
Yeah.
And that's what Taj reminds me of. I mean, he's hard-nosed. He loves football. He's productive. He's all get out. Wait till you watch him on 3rd down and pass pro, because he's looking to cause, he's looking to inflict pain as a pass protector. So, Lap, as the season unfolds, would love to hear your kind of view on that, because you'll see him go for the rib shot when he's out there going on a chip, and you'll see him really be able to play with his hands and deliver a strike, opposed to just kind of be that guy who's chopping at guys' knees and ankles. He's striking with good hand position, with strength, with leverage, and he's got the ability to absorb and anchor.
Offensive lineman, man, running backs, they're going to be able to run, make people miss all that, run routes, catch the football. But man, if you have a guy that sticks his nose right in the middle of the chest, and has the technique and the toughness to pass protect, blitz pick up, and help in the running game, you got yourself a jewel right there. How about a couple of college free agent pickups that the Bengals had that strike your fancy?
Sure. The guys that I'm really excited about are Eric Gregory, Howard Cross. I think has got a really good shot.
Yep.
I think that we did a good job in even getting the right long snapper to help and compete and really just raise the level of the operation. In that regard, I think that there's a lot of guys that we were able to sign that have a real shot. I mean, and that's how you feel. I mean, I remember I went through Wisconsin and then Illinois State with last year for Muma and for Cam Grandy, and you feel this very similar way for those guys, right? Like when they come in and they're wired the right way, and you as an evaluator, you have the trust in their on-field ability and you have the trust in their football character. That's what you're looking for. You're trying to build the most competitive 90-man roster. So when it comes time for the 53 to 16 cut, you're dealing with guys that you have familiarity with because they've been with you for the past however many months, and you know their competitive level, their level as a competitor, to just bet on their development and those projections.
Real quick comment, Coach, on the schedule. I'll run down something that I want to hit with you. It's the number of national games and 4:25 p.m. kickoffs. The Bengals are a team people want to see. The networks understand that, and they have scheduled accordingly here. The Bengals have the Broncos on Monday Night Football, September 29th. The Lions at 4:25 the next week on 10-5. 10-12, they have the Packers at 4:25. 10-16, they have the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And then down the stretch, they've got the Ravens on Thursday night, November 27th. They've got on December 7th, the Bills at 4:25. And then the 21st, they've got Sunday Night Football against the Dolphins. I mean, they've got 7 games nationally televised of 4:25s. 2 of them at home, 5 on the road. People want to see the Bengals play, Coach.
That's exactly right. You got to tip your hat to Zach, to Duke, to the Brown family, to Potts, to Steve, to Trey and Andrew in terms of what has been able to be built there, right? I mean, you were able to retain MVP caliber quarterback, MVP caliber receiver, T. Higgins, who is one of the best, 8 receivers, 10 receivers in the league.
Right.
I mean, you've retained a lot of guys who are jersey movers, right? Like those guys, jersey sales, I'm sure they're all going to be up there. You have one of the most explosive offenses in the league, and you brought back Al Golden, and you have the defensive pieces to really build something special on defense. I think it's really really exciting what's in store for the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals. It was one of the hardest things I've had to do to leave that situation because I have so much faith in this season being a special one for Cincinnati. But again, if it would have been easy for me to say no to a lot of different opportunities. It was just the right one came along and kind of bubbled up. But again, it's one of those things where I leave with a heavy heart, not only because of the work that we put in, but mainly because the excitement around this season. I think this season's going to be a special one for Cincinnati. I think that that everyone's prioritizing the right things, and hopefully, we're talking in February and we're looking back at this, and you're telling me how smart I looked back then.
Final question.
Yeah.
And I promise this is it.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals resign him?
I believe so.
Me too.
I believe so. Lab, you know how these deals typically get done. It's been something where it's never been a rush job. It's easy this time of year and I'm not throwing shade or anything like that, but it's easy this time of year for national media to kind of look for like the little pain points and make them large stories. I think a larger story is the fact that you're able to retain Burrow, you're able to retain those 2 receivers. No one thought you were going to be able to do all 3 of those.
Yep.
And you got the Trey Hendrickson thing right in the crosshairs. I believe it's going to be able to get done, and both sides will be happy. Compromises aren't always the easiest things to come to, but they will make both sides, happy and feel a good feeling. So I have all the faith in the world that they'll be able to get that done. And I have that faith because the track record that they've proven in being able to land these big planes the last couple of years.
You mentioned you go to Northwestern with a heavy heart. Well, I think a lot of people in the Bengals organization have a heavy heart as well with you going to Northwestern, but they're also happy for you.
Yeah.
Because they know you're going to do big things at Northwestern, and you'll be back in the National Football League is my prediction, doing even bigger things because that's who Christian Sarkisian is.
I appreciate it, Lap, and my dad's advice just rings true to me. Just don't F it up and you'll be okay. Right.
I'm going to remember that. I'm going to live by that as well, man.
Yeah.
That's as good advice as you're going to get, no doubt.
Yeah, that's right.
You're the man. You're the man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, Lap, you have a great summer, man.
You do the same.
Yes, sir.
Dave Lapham here. While games are over for the season, there's no off-season for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham or First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics gave away great prizes during the season, which will continue with exclusive content in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. So please, do me a favor. Subscribe to In the Trenches, hit the like button, and visit the First Star Media Group YouTube channel for exclusive content and special giveaways.